So guys, today we will be starting the first chapter of chemical reaction engineering, which is your mole balances, right? And the book that I would be following is this one. This is Elements of Chemical Reaction Engineering by Scott Fogler, right? So guys, mole balances, right? Mole balance is one of the 5 pillars of chemical reaction engineering, right? When I say one of the 5 pillars, let's look what are the other pillars. Mole balance is one, then is your rate laws, right? We have studied this in chemical kinetics, rate law, right? Law of mass action. Then there is another rate law that depends on the experimental conditions, right, from where we derive the order of reaction, right? So once you know the rate law, then you have stoichiometry. By stoichiometry we mean the number of moles of reactants, right, and the number of moles of products that are getting formed, right? And if you remember, you have done this in your school chemistry, defining the rate of reaction in terms of stoichiometric coefficients, right? If you remember, we have done this. I have this video lecture on defining the rate of reaction in terms of stoichiometric coefficients in chemical kinetics playlist, right? Dissociation of PCl5, phosphorus pentachloride, into phosphorus trichloride in chlorine, right, where the rate of reaction in terms of stoichiometric coefficient, if we talk about, it's minus 1 upon, it's only 1. Let's take another example, right, that will make things clear. If we take let's talk about a general reaction, which is AA plus BB, right, gives you CC plus DD, right? These small A, B, C, D small letters denote the stoichiometric coefficients, right? So if you want to define the rate of reaction in terms of this reactant A, we know that as the reaction proceeds, the concentration of reactants will go down and the concentration of products will go up, will increase, right? So the rate of reaction would be 1 upon A, right, D upon dt, right, change in the concentration of reactant A, right? This is what it means. And why we put the negative sign? The negative sign shows that the concentration of reactant is going down, right? So this is how we will define the rate of reaction in terms of stoichiometric coefficients, right? If we want to define the rate of reaction in terms of product, it would be 1 upon C D upon dt, concentration of C, right? Here notice I have not put the negative sign because the rate of concentration of product is increasing, right? So you can relate your stoichiometry to this. And rate law, as I've already said, like rate, if you remember, we used to define the rate of reaction as rate is directly proportional to the concentration of A and the concentration of B, right? If law of mass action was applied, it's A, right, and B. But this is theoretical. The experimental was rate of reaction, it's alpha, which states that this rate of reaction depends on alpha concentration of A and beta concentration of B. This is found by experimental results, and this is as per law of mass action, which is theoretical, right? And if you remember, from here we used to derive the order of reaction, alpha plus beta, right? And stoichiometric coefficient, this is how you will define the rate of reaction, right? Then the other pillar that you have is your energy balance, right? How to balance energy depending on the heat of the reaction. Then is your diffusion, right? Then is your contacting. By contacting we mean how well the reactants mix, how soon they mix, how well they mix, right? So chemical reaction engineer is required, right, to do all these things, right? Throughout their career they would be doing all this, right, while working in chemical reactors, right? So that is why we call these as the pillars of chemical reaction engineering, because a chemical engineer would always be dealing with these things, right? When we talk about mole balance, right, in this video lecture we'll just understand what a mole balance is and what is rate of reaction, right? Because we have studied rate of reaction in our school days, in our school classes, but now we'll see the rate of reaction and we'll elaborate it more, right, based on the reactors, right? So, and in the next video lecture we would be deriving the general mole balance equation, and we will see how the mole balance equation applies to different reactors, right? We have different reactors, batch reactors, right? CSTR, CSTR, then we have plug flow, then we have there's a fourth kind of reactor which is packed bed reactor, right? If I'm not wrong, it's packed bed reactor, right? So these are the reactors that we would be dealing with, right? So continuous stirred tank reactor, right? Then you have tubular reactor, which is plug flow, PFR, right? Then you have packed bed reactor. We will derive a general mole balance equation, then we will apply the general mole balance equation to all these 4 different reactors, right? So these are the 5 pillars of chemical reaction engineering. Make sure you understand all these and try to relate these with your previous study, right? That will make your life easier. So CRE, chemical reaction engineering. What we basically do in chemical reaction engineering, we would be dealing with chemical kinetics and your reactors, right? We would be studying your chemical kinetics in reactors, right? Chemical kinetics would be applied to reactors in order to produce chemicals on an industrial scale, right? In order to produce any chemical on industrial scale, what we need is chemical kinetics and the reactor design, right? Without these 2 things, we would not be able to produce or think of making any chemical on an industrial level, on a bigger level. So here we have chemical kinetics plus your reactor design, right? When we talk about chemical kinetics, if you remember from chemical kinetics chapter, in chemical kinetics what we generally study, we study about the speed or rate of reaction, right? The factors that affect the speed or rate of chemical reaction, and the reaction mechanism, how reaction takes place, how reaction proceeds, right? So here in chemical kinetics we deal with the speed or rate of reaction, right? We deal about the factors on which the speed of reaction depends, right? If we talk about the factors on which we have studied this in chemical kinetics. The factors are concentration, temperature, right, pressure, catalyst, right? All these factors influence the speed or rate of chemical reaction. When we talk about concentration, if you remember, we studied collision theory. You should be clear with all these things. I have a playlist on chemical kinetics. If you have any doubts, you can go through and look for all the lectures on these topics. Temperature, if you remember, temperature is your activation energy, right? Activation energy. And make sure you understand that diagram, right, that we've studied. It used to look like this, right? And how catalyst used to bring down this energy barrier, You should be clear with all these things, right? Pressure, when you increase the pressure, it will bring the reactants closer, right? Where they will have more chances of collision, right? Better collision means they are in right orientation, they have energy that is equal to or more than threshold energy. Then you have catalyst. We know that what catalyst does basically, catalyst provides the reaction surface where reactants come close, right, to one another and they start reacting. Or the other theory was these reactants form an intermediate with the catalyst, right, and then it breaks, right, that intermediate breaks to form products and regenerating the catalyst, right. This is an intermediate compound formation theory, if you recall, right. Once you know all this, once you understand all these and the thermodynamics of a reaction, right, because all these things will tell you how to make your reaction economically feasible, right, optimizing the costs also at the same time. Once you understand all these things, then you go ahead towards designing your reactor, right, because if you look at the chemical plant, right, you need to add various components in your reactor design, right. So once you know all these things, whether the reaction is exothermic or endothermic, right, whether you need a high pressure, so you need a compression pump, right. So, and if you have a catalyst, you need a catalytic chamber. So once you know all these things, then only you can go ahead and look towards the reactor design, right. Now before we go ahead and look at, because if you remember, this is the general diagram, what is coming in, what is going out, right, is reactants, products, and your kinetics and contacting, right. This is generally your reactor, right. This diagram is very important. You would be looking into this diagram throughout this book, right, and you would be dealing with the mole balance equation throughout this book. So make sure you understand these concepts well, right. So chemical kinetics and reactor design, right, are at the heart of producing almost all industrial chemicals, right. So before we go ahead and discuss more about the conditions, the chemical kinetics part that I have explained, right, it is necessary to account for various chemical species that are entering, right, and leaving a system, right. We need to account, because before we deal with this part, we need to understand what chemical species are entering the reactor and what chemical species are leaving the reactor, right, and what is happening. You should also know what is happening inside the reactor, how well they contact, how soon they mix, right. All these things is important. So this part, when I said before going into kinetics, we need to look at what is entering into the system, what is leaving into the system. You need to account for all these, for these two things, what is entering, what is leaving. This accounting is done using your mole balance, right. So I write this accounting of what is entering and leaving is done by using mole balance equation. We'll derive mole balance equation in our next video lecture, and then we'll apply it to different chemical reactors, right. So now this is clear, right. So this the accounting process is achieved, right, through overall mole balance, mole balances, or the mole balance equation that we would be deriving, right, on individual species in the reaction system. When we say in, what is going in is your chemical species, right, which are nothing but reactants, right? You need to have an account of this. You need to have an account of chemical species leaving the system, right? This is what mole balance will majorly tell you, right? What is coming in, what is going out, and what is happening to these chemical species in the reactor, right? What that means is the rate of generation, right, by chemical reaction within the system. Because in the system, in the reactor, what is basically happening is, what is happening in the reactor is the chemical reaction, right? So what is getting produced, what is the chemical reaction or the rate of formation of species that is getting done in the system, in the reactor, right? So you have I'll repeat, the mole balance, what is going in, the chemical species, the reactants, what is going out, right? The products, which are again the chemical species. You need to have account for all this, right? And what is coming out, make sure you don't have much undesirable product, because it will again cost, right? It would be a cost involved towards separating the desired product from undesired products, right? Because you need here your physical separation methods, right? That will involve cost. So the cost should not go very high, right? You have to consider all these things. Now let's talk about the rate of reaction. Rate of reaction, we have already studied about rate of reaction. That rate of reaction, if we take this reaction in general, rate of reaction is change in the rate of reaction is when a reaction is happening, right? When a reaction is taking place, what is actually happening is your concentration of product reactants is going down, your concentration of products is going up, is increasing. So rate of reaction is speed of reaction, right? If we talk about speed of a vehicle, if you want to find the speed of a vehicle, when a vehicle is traveling, its distance is changing, right, with time. So we say speed is distance upon time, rate of change of distance with time, right? Which is also using distance, which is changing with time, right? And the time, you can find the speed, right? Here in chemical reaction, what is changing? Concentration is changing. Concentration of reactants and products is changing, right? So how you can define, like in a vehicle, distance is changing with time. So here concentration is changing with time. So rate of reaction can be defined as change in concentration of reactants, right, divided by time, right? Similarly here, if we are talking about reactants, you put a minus sign here, right? If you want to define the rate of reaction in terms of products, then it is change in concentration of products divided by time. You have a negative sign here. Why? Because the concentration of reactants goes down with time, right? Now this is what we have studied in our school chemistry, right? Now let's look more into it. When we say a chemical reaction is happening, right, what is basically happening is that a chemical species is undergoing a change, right? A chemical species is undergoing a change. Its identity is getting changed, right? The identity of a chemical species is getting changed. When we talk about the identity of a chemical species, we mean the number, the kind, and the configuration of atoms that make that chemical species, right? Once any of these three things, the number of atoms, the kind of atoms, or the configuration of atoms, right, changes, right, the identity of a chemical species will change, or we say that the identity of a reactant will change, right? When the identity of a reactant is changing, that means a chemical reaction is taking place. And when identity of a one chemical is changing, it will form another chemical, right? It will form another chemical when the identity of what we say is when the identity of reactants is changing. What they will do is they will form another chemical species, right, by changing their identity. What we call them as your products, right? So rate of reaction when we say it's when the identity of a chemical species changes, right? And when we talk about the identity of a chemical species, we have three things: number, right, number, kind, and configuration of atoms, right, in the reactants. And how this change can take place, how the number, the kind, or configuration of atoms can undergo a change, right? In order to do this, either decomposition should take place, or combination should take place, or isomerization will take place, right? When we say the number of atoms is getting changed, right? So in order for any reactant to change its chemical identity, right, decomposition, combination, or isomerization should take place, right? So there are three basic ways a species can lose its identity. When we are saying that reactants are changing their identity, what is basically happening is they are losing their identity, right? So there are three ways. A chemical species can lose its identity, right? It's through combination, it's decomposition, right? And then you have isomerization. We know that whenever a compound decomposes or it combines with other atoms, its configuration will change, right? When we come to isomerization, if you remember, I said a chemical identity will get changed when number, kind, and configuration of atoms will change, right? When we talk about the configuration of atoms, if you remember the cis-2-butene, right? If you know this molecule, right? This is your cis-2-butene, and if I talk about this is your trans-2-butene, right? This is your cis isomer, this is your trans isomer. If you look at these, these are chemically, they have same number of atoms, right? Same number of atoms, but the atoms are arranged, right, in different geometrical fashion, right? Or what we say is the configuration of atoms in these two molecules is different, right? Here you see the hydrogen atom is configured, right, is configured in cis form, same side. Cis means same side. Here the hydrogen and methyl, you have on the same side, you have hydrogen and methyl, that is why it's trans. So the configuration of atoms in these two molecules is different. So if this configuration can take place, right, by using some chemical reaction, if this cis form will change into this trans form, what is happening is the identity of this cis form, cis-2-butene, is changed, right, into trans-2-butene. Although the number of atoms is same, but configuration is different. And this type of change can take place through isomerization reaction. We will say that this cis-butene has isomerized into trans-2-butene, right? This is what configuration and isomerization, how configuration can change through isomerization. This is what it means, right? Now decomposition right? When we talk about decomposition, we have an example of cumene. There is a compound called as cumene. This is the compound, right? This will decompose. This is the chemical identity. Here is the chemical identity of cumene, right? If it will decompose, right, what will happen is it will produce benzene plus C3H6, right? Right, so these two compounds are formed, which is benzene and propylene. This is your propylene and this is your benzene, right? And if you look, this is a reversible reaction. Here the chemical, you can see that the chemical identity, or what we say is the identity of this chemical cumene is changed via decomposition into benzene. This has undergone decomposition into benzene and propylene, right? So this is your decomposition, right? If we talk about the reverse reaction, this benzene, right, and propylene, right, will undergo a reaction to form cumene, right? If you see, this cumene looks different, right? So here, if you talk about the reverse reaction, benzene and propylene have undergone combination to change their identity, right, and form a different product, right? So this has happened through combination and decomposition, and this type of reactions are through isomerization, right? So these are the ways a chemical species can change its identity, right? Now let's quickly talk about the rate of reaction. When we talk about the rate of reaction, the rate of reaction is, if you remember, we have how to calculate the rate of reaction. The calculation of rate of reaction, if you remember, if you know how the rate of change of any species, right, rate of change of reactants with time, what we used to call, sorry, right, if you have this graph, time on the x-axis, concentration on the y-axis, what you get is this kind of a graph, right? If you take the tangent, right, tangent of this graph, right, will give you the rate of reaction, right? And there is something known as average rate of reaction, instantaneous rate of reaction that you have studied. Average rate of, because we know that if you want to calculate the rate of reaction depends on the change in the concentration of reactants or change in the concentration of products, right? So if you want to find the rate of reaction, this rate of reaction is depends on the change in the concentration of reactants, right? So here, because the concentration of reactant is continuously changing, right, so your rate of reaction will also change, right? So the rate of reaction that I calculate based on this would be the average rate of reaction. I cannot calculate it as an instant, at one instant. If you want to calculate the rate of reaction at one instant, right, so we need to find a small time dt during which the rate of reaction does not change, remains constant. So the rate of reaction calculated at small time dt, right, is your instantaneous rate of reaction, which would be, if x is the concentration of reactant, t is time, it would be dx upon dt, right? This x is the concentration of reactant. So this is your rate of reaction. Rate of reaction is, I write dx upon dt. X is the reactant, concentration of x is changing with time. So at time t, right, this is your instantaneous rate of reaction, dx upon dt. Right, and when we talk about average rate of reaction, why we calculate average? Because the rate of reaction also falls down with your change in concentration of reactants, right? So here, but this does not apply. This applies only when volume is not changing or